Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Intentional Disc Golfer Podcast. We're excited to have you join us on our disc golf journey. This podcast explores the physical, mental, and technical aspects of disc golf performance. We will also be discussing tools and techniques to improve your disc golf game as we work on improving ours. Now, here are your hosts, Brandon and Jenny Saprinsky.
And we are back here at the Intentional Disc Golfer Podcast. Thank you for listening. My name is Brandon.
And my name is Jenny.
And again, I can't thank you guys enough for listening. Our listeners make this all possible, and we're very grateful for what a wonderful ride this has been. If you want to get involved, sponsor the show, or even be a guest on the show, you can get a hold of us at theintentionaldiscgolfer@gmail.com. That is theintentionaldiscgolfer@gmail.com. Also, with social media, please like, subscribe, follow, tell all of your friends, and give us a try. We are available on almost every major podcasting streaming platform, and our social media pages are on Instagram and Facebook. That is Saprinsky Disc Golf. That is CZUPRYNSKI Disc Golf. That is CZUPRYNSKI Disc Golf. And on Twitter, we have a Twitter handle. It is the IDG podcast .com. That's not, no, Twitter doesn't have .com. It's the IDG podcast on Twitter.
You should also reach out to us for some stickers. Stickers are awesome. I love stickers. I have some in my office at work.
And all over our van.
Yes. If you have a sticker and you want us to advertise on our van, I still have some windows that don't have stickers on them.
There's still window space.
You can,
we could do a sticker trade, can't we?
Oh, man. That is one of the coolest things. Like, it's really weird when we run into people disc golfing. It's like, here, you want a sticker? And they're like, oh, you want one of ours? And it's like sticker things.
Yeah, we trade stickers all the time. And we're actually in a different color pattern of stickers now. We have the green ones right now.
We have the green ones for the Understanding the Course series that we never finished.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on it. I got my feelers out there. But, life happens. Speaking of things, life happening. So up here in Washington, where we're at, we have come into what is kind of the off season. It gets dark early, so there's not really a whole lot of time to get a lot of disc golf in. And anybody that knows anything about Seattle and this area knows that it rains quite a lot.
Well, there's also critters, and there's a lot of hills.
Critters,
and the ground tends to turn into mud.
Yeah, it can become quite dangerous, especially with the critters. I mean, right about this time of year is when all the bears and the cougars and the bobcats and the coyotes and stuff are trying to fatten up for raccoons. Well, raccoons, they're not we have killer raccoons around here, like man-eating raccoons.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been attacked by a raccoon?
No, but I've had enough raccoons.
Like as pets?
Not really pets. I mean, they were pets like the same way the outdoor cats were pets.
So they hunted mice?
No, they ate cat food.
So wouldn't that technically be a cat?
It was a raccoon.
A pet cat. And, well, they kind of eat the same thing. I don't know.
They ate the cat food.
The only thing I know about raccoons is they have stripes and they live in trees.
They're not zebras.
They're not zebras. Zebras have stripes. Not the same.
So do tigers.
Not the same.
Back to disc golf.
And we're back. So, anyway, talking about this episode, we got to the end of our season, about the last, couple tournaments and everything, wrapping up kind of our tournament series and our championships and season finales and whatnot. And, we start thinking about the off season as, what can we do for next year to improve our game?
Are you going to plug how we finished the season?
No, but you are.
No, how did you finish the season?
Well, I'm happy with my finishes this year as season wind up is, it was my goal this year to kind of be a strong, like, middle of the field and, be consistently kind of in the middle of the field. And I actually ended up taking a tournament and getting first place. So that was a lovely surprise. Sorry, Bill, if you're listening.
But he beat you at the next one.
The next two.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. But a lot of midfield finishes, and I actually had several podium finishes. So all of this hard work and research that we've been doing, at least on my behalf, has been paying off. Jenny did exactly the same as she's always done.
Yeah, so finished the women's series, and I fought my way back to first and lost at the playoff. However, I loved losing to Rachel because it was her first tournament win, her first official game with her number. I played with her at summertime fling at the Evergreens, and it was a hoot. And she was like, I'm so tired. How does this work? And yeah, she's like, I'm so nervous. I'm like, you got this.
So you took second in the tournament.
I took second for Queen of the Jungle. What did I take for King of the Jungle? Did I take second?
I don't know.
I think I took second to Leilani.
I can't remember. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I took second to Leilani.
Yeah,
But
Leilani's good.
I know. I love that I can battle with Leilani Battle now because, well, when I first started last year, like, she was so out of my league, and now we're in the same league. And
yeah,
it's kind of weird.
It's really cool to have that rivalry and watch you guys go back and forth.
Yeah, because we learn from each other too and talk about tips. But I did finish first in FA3 this year for the overall Evergreen Women's Series, and I did get a nice little payout. Thank you to Tony and Nicole and everyone else for getting all that payout and donations, and looking forward to the Women's Series for next year too. But now I guess I'm the 3-time Washington State Women's Champion because I took FA4 last year, FA3 this year for the Evergreen Women's Series, and then what was that other one? NADGT FA3.
Yeah.
So moving up to FA2 next year.
Is that official, or are we gonna hang out?
Well, yeah, all my friends are going to FA2. I got to go to FA2.
You got to go to You have to do it.
Unless I'm playing like some big tournament, then I'll go with my rating.
Yeah, you sandbagger.
That's right. Better than a beanbagger.
Well, you are planning on going down to the women's nationals down in Texas next year, aren't you?
Yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah.
We'll see. Life happens.
We're gonna work towards that and get you there somehow.
Yeah.
All right.
Have to walk.
So we made some improvements just on experience and playing alone, both Jenny and I. And to throw myself under the bus and talk a little bit about myself is I realized that the biggest bang for my buck, if you would, and the place that I can improve the most, that would have the most impact on my game, was consistency and control. And what I mean by that is I find myself trying way too hard, working way too hard, when I play the game. And when I do that, not only am I not as accurate, and I also wear myself out. So these multi-round tournaments, the second round I'm just spent and I do terrible. So the answer to that problem for me is that I need to be able to put a lot less effort into it and also be able to hit my distances the way I need to hit them in order to be competitive. So the answer to this is I need to get stronger.
Dude. With what we've been doing, I had some killer park jobs, like drop-ins next to the basket birdies after all this work we've been doing. Like, it's crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, let me brag about you for a minute. So your big improvement, Jenny, this year has been your consistency. Your consistency has picked way up. I mean, everybody has a weird shot here now and again, but you are hitting fairway. You've learned some great shot shaping skills. So that's really coming along nicely. Where you could have stood to improve, and I think I'm speaking for, or where you expressed that you wanted to improve, was you wanted to add some more distance to your shot so that you can
so I didn't have to putt.
Yeah, so you could play.
Let's be honest.
So you could play a little closer to the basket.
I'm really proud that. So I gave up on trying to do a walk up. Like that was the thing. I remember that in February or whatever. I was like, I'm just going to stand still and I'm going to throw standstill. And with a lot of the people that I play against, they have their walk ups, whatever. But I'm able to outdrive them with a standstill. And I am so proud of that because it's just standstill.
Well, I remember when you did that, you're like, you know what? There's too many moving parts. I'm just going to give up on this and I'm going to master this one thing.
Well, I didn't give up on it. It's like that's just too much inconsistency. So if I practice that, because you have to stand still, like there are times in the woods you have to stand still.
Well, and we live in the woods.
Yes.
There's a lot of woody courses out here in Washington, especially Western Washington. No, I misspoke. You didn't give up on it completely. It was your personal mission to master one aspect of the game and create a foundation, as where you had been playing the game before, you actually had to backtrack and unlearn some bad habits that you had learned over that first season.
That is correct.
So with that being said, I mean, you added some great distance. Your consistency went through the roof. I mean, that's your strong point right now is your consistency in the fairway and on your approach shots.
Yep.
And where one of the places that you decided that you wanted to improve on is you wanted to add more distance to your shot. Well, who doesn't? I mean, we're all going to add more distance to our shot. But to be able to throw an effortless 300 feet, she needed to get stronger. So if you're catching on to a theme here,
I needed to build the muscles.
Get the Ezra Edo hold.
No.
No.
No. I'm going for a little more like the stringy Holland Handley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I have
Holland's
the Kristen
beast,
Tatar
though.
base though.
Holland has guns on her.
I know.
Have you looked at her arm?
Yeah, I've spoken with her.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
yeah, I've worked with her.
Yeah, she's like, we've met her. We've been around her. She's a great person.
Yeah.
But it's like, I didn't realize until watching her on coverage, like, she's actually got a pair of guns. Like, she's ripped up top. What?
Stalker.
No, it's just something I noticed.
Did you notice that Ezra does too?
Who doesn't notice? Like, I thought that I had one of those 3D TVs, but it was just Ezra Edelhold. It was weird. But anyway, yeah.
Okay, so we hit the gym pretty hard today, and my abs are cramping as we're laughing.
Great segue.
Yeah.
So if you haven't picked up on our theme yet, this episode is about exercise. If you're like most people out there, yes, exercise. I know, how exciting, right? If you're like most people out there, you show up at the gym, you got your tennis shoes on, your shorts, your water bottle, your towel, your entertainment, your earbuds are in, and then...
I don't think most people even show up at the gym.
What do you do? Well, the first step is getting inside the door. I mean, you gotta get in the door.
I don't know. I'm still a big fan of the home gym.
You don't even necessarily need a gym, like gym membership. I'm not saying go out like today and buy yourself a gym membership.
Your name's Jim?
Jim. Oh, Letterkenny. Yeah. But anyway, so if you're like most people, you show up at the gym, you're ready to go. What do you do? Or you look some stuff up online and it's like you're doing this exercise program, but you don't really know why you're doing it or why it's focused the way it's focused or why you're doing certain things a certain way. And so we're going to talk about that all in this episode, starting from the very, very basic, and we got a lot to cover, so we might break it up into a couple episodes. But this one is at least helpful to get you started.
Let's start at the very beginning.
That's
A
beautiful.
very good place to start.
Right on.
When you read, you begin with ABC.
And we'll talk more about that right after a word from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Jenny from The Intentional Disc Golfer. Want to improve your putting game? Well, so do I. Target Putt is the best way to help you get better at putting. This simple little tool increases your awareness of location, your distance, and your aiming. It's a highly visible target that allows you to focus better, aim more precisely, and dial in your distance. For less than the price of one disc, you'll have a durable target that you can use wherever you practice. It's really easy to use. Clip it on, step back, and start making better putts. Unclip it, clip it to your bag or cart for future use wherever you go. We all know that you drive for show, but you putt for dough. Have better rounds, better scores, putt with confidence, and finally fix the putting part of your game. Try Target Putt. Make every putt count. Available at golfsidesports.myshopify.com.
Hi there, this is Brandon from the Intentional Disc Golfer podcast, and I want to talk to you about Disc Raptor, the ultimate disc cleaning tool. I have one attached to my disc golf bag, and it keeps me playing my best on those wet and sloppy days. Then when I'm done, I can just flip it inside out, throw it in the wash, and it's that simple. Disc Raptor is made from tough materials for durability, but its microfiber and soft scrubbing insides are gentle on your discs. Disc Raptor is also a U.S. owned and operated company. I've spoken to the owner, Colin, personally, and this is an entrepreneur that you can trust. Get yours today at discraptor.com. That's DISCRAPTOR.com. Disc Raptor is a proud sponsor of the Intentional Disc Golfer podcast.
Hi, this is Paul Wright with the Paul Macbeth Foundation. Support the Builders Club and support the Intentional Disc Golfer.
All right, so we are back here at the Intentional Disc Golfer. We're talking about exercise and mainly exercise programming today. Our goal is to leave you with a base knowledge so that you can show up on the gym and start to work on a disc golf geared type exercise regimen, and give you just a very high level overview of where you can start and where you can go from there.
Yeah, it's kind of that. So I had some coworkers asking me, what is the difference between just playing disc golf and now that I consider myself a amateur athlete with the game? So intentionally going to the gym to improve those motions, those muscle movements, that muscle memory, I think that is one place that will set you apart to be an athlete in the sport instead of just a player of the game.
I think that's very well said. It has been said. There's a quote that I love out there. It was actually in my ACE trainer's book when I was going through my certification.
What does AC stand for?
Oh, ACE, the American Council on Exercise. So there's, little background. There's basically two big schools for personal trainers out there. One is ACE, which is the American Council on Exercise, and one is NASM, NASM, and that is the National Academy for Sports Medicine, I want to say. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, those are the two big accredited programs. So I took the ACE certification. That was a while ago. My certification has lapsed, so I can speak from an informed position. However, I'm not an expert. I'm not currently practicing in the field. And of course, as always, do not take any of what I'm about to say as medical advice or anything of that nature. Always consult your primary care provider, or a nutritionalist or a licensed certified personal trainer. Even though last time when I did, you don't have to have a license to be a personal trainer, because there's lots of personal trainers that don't.
And there's also lots of people probably nearby or not too far from where you live that play disc golf, and lots of people are willing to give lessons too if you have specific questions about disc golf.
So I'm ready to exercise. Where do I start? This is probably a question that a lot of people have asked themselves. Where do I start? What do I do? Do I just show up and start aimlessly attacking whatever activity it is? Like, I have a basic idea. Like, it's kind of confusing. Well, let me clear that up for you. The good news is you've already started. You're a disc golfer. Disc golfing is great exercise.
If you're enjoying the game and you want to transition from just playing the game to being an athlete of the sport, there are things that you can do. You can do these activities at home. You can do them in a gym. It's up to you. The gym has all the bells and whistles that you might be interested in using, and we're going to try and help you hone in on some specific exercises, some specific machines, some specific movements that we've found really have improved our game. So we're going to share what we've done in hopes that maybe it would help you improve your game.
So in my ACE trainer book, when I was going through the classes to get my certification, there was a great quote in there, and I always remember it, is that if exercise were a pill, and you could take this pill and it would just exercise your system, it would be the most prescribed medication in the world. Exercise has so many benefits, not only for physical health, but also for mental health as well, and hormonal regulation, anxiety, depression, mood stabilization. It does wonderful things for your physique as far as like getting rid of adipose tissue, strengthening joints and cartilage and ligaments and tendons, strengthening your muscles, also getting rid of that nasty adipose tissue, which is basically tissue that kind of is around your body but doesn't do anything. Also strengthening your cardiovascular system. To really get into some of the basics of exercise programming, we have to talk about the 4 areas of exercise and fitness, and that is endurance, strength, balance, and flexibility. So let's talk about each one of those. Endurance, of course, is how long you can go, and that has a lot to do with your cardiovascular system. Your cardiovascular system, as you work that out, you get your heart rate up. Certain things start to happen to your physiology. Your heart is able to become stronger, which means that it can pump more blood per pump, per beat than it could before. So you actually increase your blood volume. Your veins and arteries actually start to widen out and get bigger so that they facilitate the higher blood volume. But also you got to understand that your cardiovascular system is your superhighway for all of your hormones, your nutrients, all of your nutrition, your vitamins, the electrical system. Basically everything that runs your body goes through your bloodstream in one way or another. And also being able to get rid of waste and remove acids and things from your muscles so that you can recover quicker. If you only do one thing in the exercise realm, make it cardiovascular.
BC Construction Services is dedicated to growing the sport of disc golf. From sponsoring tournaments and events to volunteering with the Paul Macbeth Foundation. When you hire BC Construction Services for your project, you are supporting growing the sport that we love. Get a free quote now by contacting them at bcconstructionnw.com. bcconstructionnw.com or at 360-271-3441. That is 271-3441. Serving the greater Kitsap and eastern Jefferson County area.
What's good? Eric Oakley here, and you are listening to the Intentional Disc Golfer Podcast.
And we're back for this episode of The Intentional Disc Golfer. We are talking about exercise, more specifically exercise programming, because I find that's where a lot of people get lost. You show up at the gym and you kind of scratch your head. Maybe you saw some things online. Maybe you have a basic idea of what you want to do, but a lot of people don't really know why they're doing things or how they're doing them.
Or you're one of those people that you're scared of the gym. You don't know what to do when you get there. Or you get there, you kind of start doing something, and then you fall off track.
So we're going to talk about all of those things within the scope of what we're doing and how we're training. Now, I was a personal trainer, licensed and everything, and I did that for a very brief stint. I'm not an expert, but I'm informed. So I have a basis of knowledge to go off of. But please do not take any of this as medical advice. For that, you need to go to your doctor or a licensed physical therapist, personal trainer, or something of that nature. Don't take this as medical advice. Always use your primary care provider.
And I'm certified to teach PE and health up to 8th grade.
Yes. So we can both speak from an informed position on this topic. Now, the topic of exercise is vast and broad, way much more than we can get into in this episode. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing and why we designed our program the way we designed it. So when we get to the gym, first, of course, we stretch and we warm up and get a good stretch.
I don't stretch.
Well, maybe you should start.
I haven't seen you stretch when you get there. You get on the elliptical.
No, I always stretch
No, you don't.
briefly. Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Always.
No, you don't.
I do. I do.
No.
Okay, whatever. But you should stretch. Maybe I forget sometimes. I don't know.
I thought that you said you should do the treadmill for 5 minutes or something. Then stretch, because you want to do that when you're warm, and then get into the cardio more.
Yeah, walking up those stairs at our gym is warm enough. It's
not a mountain.
Yeah, it is.
There's 20 steps.
No, there's more. There's 30.
No, there's not.
There's got to be.
No.
There's a landing, so there has to be at least 24.
No, there's not.
Yep. But anyway, when you show up at the gym, the first thing you should do is do a little bit of movement to kind of loosen up, get your heart rate beating just a little bit faster. We're going to talk about heart rate a lot because that has a lot to do with your cardio, and cardio is hugely important, probably the most important part of exercising, aside from resistance training, which we'll talk about also. But get your heart rate up a little bit, shake around. I wouldn't go and chug a bunch of water though, because that could be bad. So definitely drink water, but don't chug a bunch. And do some basic stretching. Of course, stretch out your hamstrings, your calf muscles, your legs, loosen up your shoulders and things. One thing that I always forget to stretch, and we need to, is my neck and my core. Those are really two very important things, and I tend to neglect those often. So the next step in our training program is we usually do a half hour of cardio on the treadmill, or treadmill, elliptical. It could be a stair climber, could be a rowing machine, a bicycle works too. And the purpose of this is not necessarily to build your muscles. It's to build your heart muscles and your lungs. Now, why is that important?
You need them to live.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You need to breathe and you need blood.
I've always said breathing's overrated.
You have to have blood, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I always look at it as you're doing that to warm up your muscles, because like most things, you don't want to do it cold. And we've even talked about when you go out and disc golf, you want to warm up first and not just throw cold.
So what causes your muscles to warm up? What constitutes that?
Probably the stretching and contracting of the muscles and the pumping of the blood through them.
The pumping of the blood actually has more to do with it than the stretching and contracting of the muscles. So what you're doing when you're doing your cardio is you're actually working out that most important muscle, which is the heart. And I know, it's the heart of a disc golfer. So the most important muscle is the heart in the human body. I mean, aside from the brain, I say the brain is a muscle, but the heart is a very important muscle. And the reason that cardiovascular is so important is because there's a lot of things that happen to your body when you work that cardiovascular system. First of all, your heart's going to get stronger and able to pump more blood per beat than if you were just living a sedentary lifestyle and didn't exercise very much at all and work that muscle.
Which also means that your heart rate goes down, so you don't have as high of a heart rate because you have less beats per minute when you're at a resting heart rate.
Yes, exactly. Your heart rate does go down when you work that muscle because the volume of blood goes up. And the reason that is because more oxygen is getting to your muscles. And so there are a bunch of nervous signals and everything, and the muscles say, hey, I need more oxygen. So your heart pumps faster to get more oxygen to those muscles. Well, if you're pumping more blood, more oxygen is getting to those muscles, your heart and your muscles become more efficient. One of the other parts of that is you always see these bodybuilder guys and they got veins sticking out all over the place. That is because your veins actually start to widen and start to become more supple so that they are able to transport a larger volume of blood to those different areas. Now, that's twofold because on the other side, it's a delivery system. But on the other side of that is that it's also a waste system. Your your cardiovascular is very essential for recovery and actually taking waste out of your muscles and getting rid of those lactic acids so that you don't fatigue, you don't cramp, and that you can recover faster, let's say between rounds.
And also, if you do cardio, you raise your body temperature, and that helps to fight off infections and increase your immune system.
It increases and it also increases your metabolism too through thermogenesis. So if you have a higher body temperature, you actually burn more calories than you do if you have a lower body temperature. Yeah.
Fun fact, if you are a woman and you are pregnant with a boy, you get all the perks of the boy's increased metabolism and increased body temperature while you're pregnant with them.
Ooh, yeah, thermogenesis. It's
Which I want to put a huge shout out there to my friend Bernie. They're finally expecting a little boy after years and years of treatment.
Yes,
so,
congratulations to them. We're very, very happy for them.
Yes.
Yeah. So thermogenesis, that's why a lot of these weight loss supplements, and we'll talk a little bit about supplements later in the episode, but just to touch on this, a lot of these weight loss supplements that you get, you take them and they try to, kind of increase your heart rate a little bit, and they have a lot of things in there and you feel like you're kind of hot and your skin is kind of crawling. Well, that's thermogenesis. The idea is that we're going to raise your body temperature to get your metabolism going so that you can burn more calories even when you're at rest.
That's why my dad always put red pepper on things.
Yeah, red pepper, hot sauces, things like that. I mean, there's a lot of different little tricks and things that you could, of course, for like very specific information, you're gonna have to talk to a registered dietitian or a nutritionalist to do that. So cardiovascular, and so when we train for our cardiovascular system in our program, we set a time limit of 30 minutes. We don't care about the distance. What we're looking at more so is monitoring our heart rate. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can control what metabolism system our energy is pulling from. So there's 3 metabolism systems. And they're all phosphate chains of some sort. But those things on the back of the food packages, we talked about them before, they have the sugars. or they have not sugars, it's the same thing as carbs. They have carbs, proteins, and fats. Those are your three main power sources. And so the way we gear our cardiovascular program is to watch our heart rate. And we like to put our heart rate, I mean, I'm turning 40, you're 39. And as you get older, your maximum heart rate actually drops quite a bit. And so we like to put our heart rate right around like 120 to 130 beats per minute. And what that does is that allows our body to utilize fat as the power source because it's an oxidative metabolism. And so it actually takes our fat stores and turns it into energy because it's an endurance type thing, also the oxygen. And we want to avoid going above that because then we get into our sugar storage and things like that and depleting our glycogen stores. So that's why we try to keep our heart rate in this specific zone of about 120 to 130, sometimes up to 140, but 140 is pushing it.
I try and keep it within the 130 to 140. And for me, so a lot of times we'll be on the same machine next to each other. And Brandon's working a lot harder than I am because it takes him more effort to get to that heart rate than it takes me.
Yeah, and I'll be working my butt off, and my heart rate will actually be lower than yours. But that's just because I have a bigger heart because I'm a male and I have a higher metabolism, and there are different physiological differences between men and female, male and female.
What are you saying about my heart? Just kidding.
Aw.
No, I have a smaller heart than you do.
Well, yeah,
It
that's
grew 3 sizes that day.
I'm gonna have to edit in that song.
The Grinch.
The green one, Mr. Grinch.
It's not Christmas yet.
I know. So, and that's why we gear that. Now, the heart rate thing is different for every person, and we could get into a big long thing about phosphate chains and ATP and all this stuff. The thing to understand is that your body is a factory to make this stuff called adenosine triphosphate. It's ATP for short. And it has a lot of different ways of doing that using the 3 macronutrients, which is protein, carbs, and fats. And controlling how much oxygen gets into our system through our heart rate lets us determine which power source we're drawing off of. And so just underneath what's called ventilatory threshold 1. And the way you can test that is if you can do your cardiovascular activity and actually carry on a conversation, maybe test it by singing the ABCs or Mary Had a Little Lamb or something. And if you can do that with a fair amount of ease, then you're right there at that ventilatory threshold 1. Now, there is a second ventilatory threshold 2, which is like if you're in a dead sprint. If you're in a dead sprint, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't do any of these higher cardiovascular functions. So that is when you are drawing on glycogen stores. So ventilatory threshold 1, you want to be just underneath that. You should be able to carry on a conversation with ease. Your heart rate target should be somewhere, depending on your maximum heart rate, it should be somewhere roughly I would give it a wide range, maybe like 110 to 140 for most people.
I do want to correct something, though,
Yes.
is that you should be able to carry on a conversation. However, you shouldn't be able to sing. You should be working hard enough that you can't necessarily sing.
Well, it wouldn't be like singing well. It would be just,
still, that
able
was
to
something
have the breath support that you can.
that's
do that.
always been something that I've worked with, is that you need to be able to, you can carry a conversation, however, you can't sing a song. You need to work a little harder. You shouldn't be able to sing.
Anyway, that's how you test for that ventilatory threshold. And again, that's because we want to control which power source we are drawing off of. That puts us in that fat burning zone. So we usually start off our exercise routine with doing cardio. It's not about distance. We usually set a timer of we're going to go this long, and we try to spend as much time as possible in that specific heart rate zone so that we can draw as much, we might be drawing 400 calories in a 30-minute workout from that cardiovascular, but we're drawing 400 calories of fat stores.
Or you're like me and you're lucky if you hit 200, 100, maybe, because I don't end up burning that many calories when I'm working.
Well, I think that brings up a good point. So one of the kids said the other day that it takes as many calories to walk a mile as it does to run a mile. It becomes at that point, it becomes a function of time, because if you're running a mile, of course, it's going to be, a lot shorter time than if you're walking a mile. But when you do the math on it, and there's an equation where you can take the revolutions per minute, divide it by a rate, and multiply it times this or that, and you can actually convert watt energy, like electrical energy, into calories. And so that's how those exercise machines work, is they actually take your energy generation in watts and multiply them times a number, divide them by a different number, and spit out how many calories that you are burning. So yes, it is an estimate, but it's a pretty good estimate of how many calories you're burning. And if you notice on those exercise machines, if you turn the resistance up, your output goes up and you actually burn more calories. Well, that makes sense, because if you have more resistance, it takes more work, more watt energy to turn that wheel or whatever it is, and that converts into more calories. So interesting little physics factoid there.
So talking about burning the calories, you use the elliptical with the arm movements. I use the elliptical that doesn't have the arm things, as the stationary arms. And I'm working harder for me not moving my arms because my heart rate goes up so quickly. Versus you're not only moving your legs, but you're moving your arms. And so there are things you can do even just on a cardio machine to either increase the amount of calories burned and how hard you're working, or decrease it.
Well, why did we choose elliptical machines? Why did we decide to go with that instead of, like, say, a traditional treadmill? Or
because our knees
and our hips. Yeah, an elliptical machine is lower impact. The downside of it is it does affect your stride length. So I have a very long stride. So the elliptical machine took some getting used to for me, and it actually changed my walking gait, but now I'm a lot smoother and a lot more consistent. And the elliptical machines also, the cardiovascular, at least upright, also helps with balance on a treadmill or on a stair stepper or anything like that. It does help with balance. And balance, believe it or not, is something that you can train. It's in the 4 areas of fitness, is you can train balance. All those little muscles and your proprioception, which is where your orientation in space, your awareness of where you are in space. And you can train all those little muscles and actually become very, very good at staying balanced and staying upright.
Which is great when you're on those hills and you have to throw.
Or when you're doing a walk-up and you're trying to make sure that your hips and your shoulders are level and you have a neutral spine. Those are all very important things. And that can all come from balance. That also comes from another place, which is a great segue into the next part of our exercise program. We need to talk about core and have a discussion about core. Along with cardiovascular, I would say if you can do nothing else, do cardiovascular. Okay, you'll get some peripheral benefits to your musculature from doing cardiovascular, but you will see big time improvements in your energy levels, your energy output, your mood, all sorts of things. If you show up to the gym and you can't lift weights or anything like that, do cardiovascular. We're talking about core, moving into core. Well, what is core? Jenny, what do you think core is?
Core is your abdominal and your back muscles.
Yes. So core muscles are the ones that cover the squishy bits. Basically the area between your ribs and your pelvic bone. So yes, your levitators in your back, and then your abdominals and your obliques and your sides. Now, why are those important? Your core muscles are your stabilization. Everything in that's what helps you keep your spine aligned, neutral spine. It's what helps keep you upright. If you don't have core, you can't walk, you can't run, you can't bend. And not only that, but having a strong core also prevents injury.
Well, and if we're thinking of disc golf, when I really started focusing on the whip action, it's all core. Like, it's not arm muscle. Like, my throw does not come from my arm. It's all my core.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
my core and my hips.
Well, you mentioned Kristen Tatara earlier. And the first time back when we first started watching the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I remember making a comment to you saying, like, these people are all ripped. They're all stacked from the waist down. I mean, every single disc golfer that I've seen has very strong musculature in their legs and around their hips.
I think Jennifer Allen might be a really good example of that too.
Jennifer Allen's a very good example. Kristen Tatar is a heck of an example. I mean, she's a beast. She has thighs that are just gigantic. And like Ezra Aderhold, for example.
Not.
Ezra Aderhold has these little chicken calves. It's the weirdest thing. He's got these huge
muscles.
These huge upper legs, but these little teeny chicken calves. I saw him in shorts, and it was just weird. Right?
It's like, where's the rest of you?
I know, right? Like it's disproportionate.
It's like one of those books, where you get to choose the legs and the hips and the head and it's like someone
right?
gave you the wrong legs.
Yeah, and it's like I feel bad for him because it's like I know he works his calves, like he has to. The rest of his physique is so tuned in, but it's like he was just blessed with these little skinny calves. But anyway, sorry, Ezra. We think you're great.
Even flamingos are animals too.
Flamingos have feelings too. That's mean. That's mean.
I have big calves. Like, I've got legs. Like, my grandma told me, she's like, you've got legs.
There you go.
I've always had legs. Thanks, Grandma.
There you go. So core is very important. I think it's, aside from, keeping you upright, keeping you stable, one of its major functions is preventing injury. If you have a strong core, that will compensate for a lot of different muscle movements that can cause your body harm. So core is very, very, very important. And I'm not talking that you need to do like 1 million sit-ups or whatever. Just give it some attention. Make sure it's toned and in shape.
Well, I can attest to that too, because I have an unfair advantage when it comes to my core, and it's also a deficit because I have titanium rods in my back. And so there's been a lot of things I've been able to do because I have that extra support in my back, which makes my core just naturally stronger because I have titanium rods in my back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're metal reinforced.
I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh-ah.
Wow. So moving on from core, don't neglect core. Please don't neglect core, especially your obliques in disc golf. That's going to eliminate a lot of troubles and also give you some more distance on your shot, which I know that everybody wants to be able to throw an effortless 400 feet.
And if you're one of those people that either you're not used to being in the gym or you're not comfortable with going to the gym and working on your core, not sure how to do that, some things I would suggest is one thing that is always recommended is that you hold your core muscles tight when you're doing other movements. So just practice contracting your core muscles, releasing them, and practice doing things with your core muscles contracted because that's going to help you to build those muscles. Also, there are a lot of core exercises you can do standing up that don't require you to, say, lay down on the ground or do a sit-up per se. There are plenty of exercises you can just kind of like dance around, move around, and work your core.
Well, one of the most fantastic exercise programs is yoga. If you can do 10 to 15 minutes of yoga, like there's a lot of core involved with yoga. And I tell you, the ancients, they really understood something there with the range of motion, the core, and also, what's the word for it? Well,
what I'm trying to say is that if you're not even comfortable with doing yoga yet, because maybe the idea of bending over and touching your toes or the ground is not fun, or the idea of laying on the ground and then having to get back up, like there are things you can do that don't require you to do those things.
Yeah, I'm just offering that up as a suggestion. Is yoga is a great low impact way of strengthening your core and also other musculature.
And how long did we stick with our yoga program?
Well, that's because life sucks sometimes.
I don't know. We stuck with this other one a lot longer than yoga.
Well, yeah, because this one fits our needs more.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we started with yoga, and
find baby goat yoga or puppy yoga. Just do it.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
better.
That is cool. That is way better. Having puppies climb all over you, it's a lot of fun. But no, when we started doing yoga, it was, we ended up, truth be told, we ended up giving it up because like life got in the way and it became problematic. So we had to abandon that. But what we found was just some yoga videos on Amazon, and they had all sorts of...
On YouTube.
Was it on YouTube?
They were all on YouTube.
Well, the ones I found were on Amazon.
All the ones we played were on YouTube.
Okay. Well, anyway, there's lots...
Unless you were doing yoga without me.
No.
They were all on YouTube.
There is lots of free resources out there and instructors that are very good and want to do yoga, and you can do it at any level. I mean, there's a 10-minute beginner yoga. There's a 45-minute advanced yoga. There's an hour and a half cuss and pray yoga. Like there's whatever you can think of. There's a yoga for it, I guess. I'm so happy that it's just, there's a yoga for that. That's gonna
cuss and pray yoga, huh?
Cuss and pray yoga.
I'm gonna have to look that one.
You
up.
just caught that one?
No, I caught that a while ago. I find it that entertaining that I'm still thinking about it.
Cuss
and pray yoga. Like honestly, we stopped because the kids were like, "Why are you guys doing yoga in our living room? Like, feed us." So we've had to take our exercise routine out of the house in order to focus on it.
Yeah, and that's just kind of a consequence of our own thing. But so yeah. Anyway, we kind of got off on a kind of, but core is a big deal. Now, the next thing that we have incorporated into our exercise program is resistance training. Resistance training doesn't necessarily have to mean weights. You can use resistance bands. You can use inclines, declines, boxes. You can use body weight exercises and a lot of people are just going to start with body weight exercises. Resistance or weight lifting is more advanced. And that's something you really have to train for and be ready for.
Well, not really with the weight
up
machines that they have now. Like you can jump right in and a lot of them show you how to use them on the weight machine. And you can even look up the weight machine and see how to use it. So you can jump right in. And if you are going to, I recommend you start like I did, which is something really low. And you start tracking it and try and maybe go up 5 pounds the next time you try or start low while you're learning learning the movements, and then move up.
So I guess as long as you're talking about it, let's talk about those three things: is body weight exercises, weight machines versus free weights. And so body weight exercises are going to be appropriate for a lot of people. As you get stronger and more fit, and this is just my opinion, is as you get stronger and more fit, I find that body weight exercises eventually you have to up your workload. Eventually you're going to have to progress, which means you're going to have to, instead of doing 50 body squats, you're going to have to do 100 body squats. Instead of doing 25 push-ups, you're going to have to do 50 push-ups. And the sky's the limit, but eventually you're not going to want to be doing 1,000 push-ups in a day. That's going to take all day long.
Well, and I think part of it too is what your goal is. It depends upon your goal. If you want to stick with the body weight movements, go to resistance bands, or actually start using weights, because it depends. Are you trying to bulk up your muscles? Are you trying to be fit and tone? Are you trying to be flexible? Like, it depends on what your actual goals are, what type of exercises are going to be best for you.
Yeah, and let's talk about that while we're talking about this. Is that so? You have body weight exercises, and what body weight exercises are good for is shredding. So that very, like, not necessarily bulking up, but that very, like, small, lean, agile muscle mass,
toned, having a toned body.
Toned, but
yes.
not necessarily like huge.
Not bulky.
Exactly.
Yes.
This is like great for like marathon runners, sprinters, track and field athletes, basketball players,
disc golfers,
regular golfers.
Ew.
I know, ball golfers. Right. And also disc golfers too. But the problem with bodyweight exercise is you're going to have to keep gaining more and more and more fitness levels. You're going to have to increase your workload, and eventually you're just going to run out of time. You're going to increase your workload so much that you have to exercise all day just to meet your goals. And so that eventually you work your way out of bodyweight exercises, and then you can move on to things like resistance training.
I don't agree with you.
Okay.
Because a lot of our fitness comes from the food that we eat first. And then if you have an exercise routine and you're at a place where you're good with it, like, you don't have to then add additional stuff to it. Well, like, you're going to get to a point where if you're satisfied, you're just maintaining instead of trying to increase or decrease.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, because bodyweight exercises are also good for maintaining. However, if you are doing resistance lifting and things like that, if you go back to a body weight exercise, your body will actually regress and atrophy back down to those body weight levels. So once you progress, you got to keep progressing, otherwise you will atrophy. The thing about exercise is you're going to either move, or fitness, I should say, not just exercise. Fitness is a whole different deal. The thing about fitness is you have to move all in one direction or all in another. And so it's either up and up and up and up, or down and down and down and down. And too many of us in today's society, with things just being so convenient at our fingertips and everything, it's more so to the down and down and down and down towards that sedentary lifestyle. I mean, how many of our listeners sit behind a desk all day and type at computers and, program and whatever? I have a guy coming out with me this weekend that's going to be, he's a computer programmer, and that's all he does is sit at a desk all day. So there's that.
Isn't he flipping a house too? Like, he's not just... Plus, our listeners, I believe, are all disc golfers.
They're all disc golfers. Well, like I said...
So they're not living a sedentary lifestyle.
Well, like I said before, if you need to know where to start, good news is you've already started. You're a disc golfer. Oh my God. So, now moving on to machines versus free weights. They have their pros and cons. I like machines for a few different reasons, is because they help you really to stabilize and isolate certain muscle groups and get very, very specific with your workout, especially if you want to get real in tight and work those little itty bitty teeny areas. They're great from that. Also, a lot of machines out there you can use without a safety spotter. So that's another good advantage to them. And they offer some restriction in movement, so it reduces the risk of injury. So those are some of the pros to using machines.
I like the machines for certain exercises and also when I'm feeling lazy and don't want to be at the gym. I like using the machines because I can get so what I do is I'm able to get in about 6 with the amount of time that we have. 6 machines, do my reps. However, I prefer to do more like, probably it's more like a CrossFit with doing the aerobics and then doing the full body lifting with free weights where you're like doing a squat and a bicep curl at the same time. So I prefer, like I'm to the point now where some of the machines, I can tell I'm not hitting the weight, hitting the muscles that I want to hit the way that I would if I was using free weights. So I'm going to have to swallow my pride and go do the free weights.
So that's a great segue into talking about free weights. Why are free weights so good?
Why do you keep using segue?
Because it's it. It's the it. Remember that? The it?
No.
When it was, well, that guy who.
Anyways.
Whatever. Anyway, long story. So we transition into free weights. I didn't say segue. I just, yeah, I know.
Increase your vocabulary.
Now, why are free weight? What are some of the pros to free weights?
You just said freed weights.
Free weights. They're free.
They're free.
I let them loose. So free weights are weights that are like the bars, the dumbbells, things of that nature that aren't necessarily attached to a cable or a pulley system.
Yeah.
So the reason that free weights have some advantages is they're not attached to anything. So all the stabilization and everything has to come from you. So imagine a bench press where you're laying on your back and you're pushing the bar up. Well, there's a machine that does that. But what happens if you press harder on one arm than you do the other? Well, the machine's going to take over and the whole thing's going to go up. But if you don't balance that out on a free weight, one side of the bar is going to be lower than the other. And so it forces you into a concept of fitness called symmetry, where you want to be the same on both sides. It's also a big deal in bodybuilding is symmetry. You want your different hemispheres of your body to be the same size so that you don't look all weird.
And that's one of the things that drives me crazy about one move that we do that's exactly the disc golf throw with I don't even know what machine that is. It's one of the resistance weight machines.
Oh, the cable.
Yeah, but anyways, so I can do that right-handed, no problem, because I'm a right-handed thrower. I even just try and get into the stance for my left hand to do the same movement, and it like gives me a headache because I'm not used to doing that movement with that side, and so it's weird.
Symmetry is very important to fitness, and that's one of the advantages to using free weights is that you have to do the same workload with both sides of your body. So you're not going to be able to at first. That's why I recommend maybe starting on machines and working up to free weights. But you want your body to be fairly equal on both sides, and the reason you want that is not only so you don't look weird, but also being symmetrical on both sides also helps prevent injury, and it protects you against something called a compensated muscle movement. You had mentioned something about that earlier when you were talking about your having rods in your back. Yeah. So what a compensated muscle movement is just how it sounds. And the way I can best explain it is, so let's say you're, playing soccer and you twist your ankle, right? And you twist your ankle, you can't really walk on that foot very well. It's very uncomfortable. So what does your body automatically do? It automatically shifts your muscles and your brain signals and things around to allow you to be able to still walk and still function even though you have that painful ankle, and take pressure on off that ankle. Now, if you do that for an extended period of time, that programming becomes semi-permanent in your brain and in your muscles also, and you will have that compensated muscle movement. That's another reason why exercise and fitness is so important, is because those compensated muscle movements can lead to greater injuries, posture problems. It can lead to deterioration of your joints and things up on one side or the other, ligaments, and it increases the wear and tear to one specific area of your body. Now, that's the great thing about doing resistance training, is all those little muscles, all those big muscle groups, we call them prime movers, they start to level each other out and work with each other a little bit better. And what you'll notice after maybe a week or two, I mean, it's quick. It happens quick. After a week or two of doing this stuff, is that you'll be able to move a lot easier. Your motions and everything will be a lot smoother. You'll be able to complete the kinetic chain without having any like glitches or hitches or anything of that nature. And then you combine that with cardio, and it's gonna feel so much better. Your energy levels are gonna go up. You're not gonna be hurting as much. Your pain levels are gonna go down if you experience chronic pain.
You're gonna be able to sleep better and regulate your emotions and hormones and things like that better too.
Yeah, fitness does a ton for hormone regulation. Anxiety, depression, energy levels are a big one. I mean, a lot of people say they go to the gym and they're like, yeah, I feel like I'm 18 again. Well, it's like, remember how you used to act when you were 18. Like you were, if you're anything like me, you're like playing sports every day and go crazy, like very active. So yeah, resistance training. Now, when we're talking about resistance training as it pertains to physiology or programming, when we're talking about resistance training as it pertains to programming, there are different modalities of resistance training. So just to touch on a couple of them briefly, there's like a powerlifting modality, which what you're trying to do is you're trying to increase your 1 rep maximum. So you might do like a super heavy weight, but only do like 3 reps and then walk around for 10 minutes and then do 3 more reps. A rep is how many times you perform the task. And a set
stands for repetition.
Repetition, yep. And a set is a group of repetitions together. So when we talk about sets and reps, that's, if you don't know or are new to this, that's what that means. And so like a powerlifting type regimen for this is like Olympic powerlifters do this. They will do the one exercise. They will perform it like 3 times at a super heavy resistance, and then they will walk around for 10 minutes and let their energy levels come back into their muscles, right? So the second one is more of a bodybuilding type of program. So that one involves slightly heavier weights, usually about 80%, 75 to 80% of your 1 rep maximum. That's how much weight you can lift if you only lifted it once, like absolutely burnt out. And so 70 to 80% of your 1 rep maximum, and then you'll perform that. You'll perform 3 sets of 10 reps. So 30 repetitions total, broken up into sets of 10. And for that, you want to work till failure. And
isn't that one usually 10 to 12 reps?
You can go up to 12, as many as 12.
Yeah, 10 to 12.
But 10 is kind of the standard. There's some people that go even heavier and only go to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in that 8 to 12.
Somewhere to 8 to 12, depending on what you're comfortable lifting. Now, that type of modality will make you stronger. I mean, no doubt. However, that type of modality is geared towards something called hypertrophy. And that's that swell, that bulk. And it's mostly a lot of like cushy water weight stuff. If you take a professional bodybuilder and put him up against this little skinny like MMA guy, well, who's going to win in a wrestling match? The MMA guy will win because the MMA guy is actually stronger, even though he's not like super huge. So that's a big difference. as where power lifters, they can generate a lot of power really quickly, but they have zero endurance. And so that's what we were talking about the first one. Now, the third one is more geared towards what we're doing. We're doing more of a volume-based or shred workout. We not only want to gain muscle, but we also want to gain muscle that's going to last a long time and have that endurance factor to it. And so
we're increasing our lean muscle mass.
We're increasing our lean muscle mass and not our bulk. You're still going to get some bulking a little bit. I mean, your muscles are going to get more lean. They're going to get, tougher, and they're going to grow. It's just part of working out and being, doing resistance training, but they're not going to get super huge like a bodybuilder. So the way we do that is we're actually doing 3 sets of 20 reps. So 60 repetitions per exercise.
Or 3 sets of 15.
Well, we go
15 to 20.
15 to 20 is our thing. So we go 3 sets of 15 to 20. So we go anywhere.
You can go down as low as 12, right? It's like somewhere in that 12 to 20.
No, it's 15 to 20. Yeah. So we're doing 15 to 20. It's a volume-based workout. We are using lighter weights. So we're probably going maybe 60% of our 1 rep maximum. And those numbers aren't exact. I mean, you got to kind of feel it out a little bit. It takes a while to really dial in what resistances you're at.
Yeah, we're like 10 weeks in, I want to say. And I definitely started really light. And now I'm starting to go up to those heavier weights. And I'll see if I can, I'll try lifting once and see where I feel. And see if I think I can get to 15. And sometimes I'll have to go from, say I'm at 35 and I'll have to drop down to 30 for the remaining 2.
Yeah, well, I'll address that next is how do I know when to move up in weight and how do I know when to progress? So just to make sure I'm clear is we do 15 to 20 repetitions, 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions. And we have a rule. When we work out, we always finish our set. Even if we have to drop down a weight, drop down 5 pounds, 10 pounds, even if we have to take a break, we always finish our set no matter what. Because this workout program is about volume, and it's about lifting as many times as you can, not necessarily as much as you can in a short time.
Oh,
yes.
What I wanted to say is that, so if you're working one muscle group, say it's your biceps, I recommend trying to do the opposite muscle, the triceps, with the same number of repetitions, close to the same weight as much as you can. So I try and do all my core. If I'm doing my abdomen, I try and do the same with my back.
Okay.
To keep it with that consistency.
Well, it's different for everybody.
I know, but I'm just saying, as a place to start, if you don't know where to start, try and do very similar with the opposing muscle groups.
Well, I mean, I got to disagree with that because for me, for example, if I were to do a bicep curl, I can probably curl 25 pounds, right? I mean, let's just say for figure's sake. But I know for a fact my tricep extensions, which is the other side, the underside of your arm, right? My tricep extensions, I can do probably 50, 60 pounds. And so symmetry is more about the same muscle group on either side of your body rather than the same amount of weight front and back, because it's different muscle groups. Does that make sense?
I'm also saying for reps. So for me, if I work my back a certain number of reps, I try and do the same with my abs.
Well,
I'm doing I do different number of reps for my lower body than I do for my upper body. And I try and do the same rep for my lower body's workout.
Conceptually, that's a good goal as a starting off point. As you become more and more attuned to the way your body works, however, you're going to notice that you're going to need to work different muscle groups more. And you have to consider that each one of these muscle groups is its own individual thing. Even the same groups on different sides of your body. Like you said, is that you can do one exercise on your right side because that's the way you throw, but you're very much weaker on the other side and have to work that one out more. It'll take a while to gain that, but you will gain it. So you have to kind of treat each muscle group and each muscle individually. So that's a good place to start conceptually. But moving forward, it's not going to be where you want to stay. Now, if you're talking about repetitions, as far as doing like 15 ab crunches to 15 back extensions, yeah, I could see that, but they might be different weights. Or different resistances, I should say. So, talking about the resistance training, we're on a volume-based program, which means we want to put up as much volume as possible and not necessarily the heaviest weight possible. And what that's going to do is it's going to strengthen our endurance. It's going to strengthen our lean muscle mass. It's going to, it's less taxing on our heart, so we can use that heart rate again to make sure that we're drawing from the appropriate energy stores that we want to draw from. And the other thing about it is that for disc golf, you need to be able to generate a lot of energy in a very short amount of time. The trick that we do when we do this is when we lift, we try to lift fast, and we try to get these reps in as quickly as possible because that trains our explosiveness. And explosiveness is how quickly you can accelerate or decelerate into a certain movement. And so that's another reason why we're doing this program the way we're doing it. So we're doing 15 to 20 reps, 3 sets of each, and then we're trying to complete them as quickly as possible. And on that third set, we want to try to fail. And I mean like fatigue to where we physically cannot lift that thing anymore or perform that function anymore. It doesn't hurt. Don't be scared. It doesn't hurt. And you want to fatigue and you want to fail somewhere in the 15 to 18 range. If you're failing on that third set in the 15 to 18 repetition range, then it's time to increase your resistance. So, Jenny, you asked a good question, is like, when should people progress? We talked about it a little bit back in the deliberate practice episode about when you should progress. Well, with resistance training, you should be able to progress when you're 80% of the way there. And it's not work out in that same area until you feel super comfortable and then move on. You should actually push yourself a little. It is totally okay to be proactive and set goals for yourself, maybe 3-4 weeks out, and say, hey, I want to increase up to 20 pounds. And then you have checkpoints and you can actually schedule what you're going to work on. And you can work those resistances and slowly work your way up to get to those things. So if I schedule something for, if I want to put 20 pounds of resistance on my bench press, because everybody knows what a bench press is, at least I'm assuming. If I want to put 20 pounds on my bench press, I might schedule that for 4 weeks out and say, okay, well, I'm doing 100 pounds this week. So next week I'm going to increase my weight to 105 pounds. The next week I'm going to increase my weight to 110 pounds, 115, and so on until I get to that 120 pounds. Now, granted, I might not make it to that 120 pounds, but I'm definitely not going to be sitting at 100 pounds for 4 weeks. And if you're sitting at the same weight for that long, I mean, just starting out, you're going to, yes.
I want to cut in before you talk about that, because that's like me starting out after not doing an exercise routine seriously for like 7 years. I was struggling to do a 5-pound chest press, and I was struggling for about 4 or 5 weeks to do that 5-pound chest press. And so I had to work up. from
Yeah,
that.
And don't get discouraged, because when you start on a resistance training program, it takes a little while for all those little mini muscles and everything to catch up to your prime mover muscles, your big mover muscles. So if you're sitting at, the same weight for a few weeks when you first start out, that's fine. You don't want to push yourself to the point where you're going to injure yourself. But once you get to that point and you're feeling really good about it, that's when you need to really start progressing with intention. And like I said, if I schedule something for 4 weeks out that I'm going to gain 20 pounds, I might not gain 20 pounds. I might only gain 15. But do you think I'm going to be mad at that? No, I just put 15 pounds of resistance on my bench press. So being proactive about it and setting goals is a big part of not resistance training, but just fitness in general, and setting different, some people have the goal of, I want to run a marathon, I want to run a 3K or 5K, I want to be able to ride my bike in this race, I want to be able to do an Ironman disc golf challenge and play 3 rounds in a day, which actually wasn't all that bad, to tell you the truth, and things of that nature. Or even just, I don't want to be fatigued after the first round and feel like I'm going to die by hole 9. Like that could be another goal of yours. But your goal setting should be proactive. You should schedule it out with intention, using those smarter goals. The smarter goal format is probably one of the better ways to do it. And if you need to know what that is, please do go back and listen to our smarter goal episode, because we explain it in detail at length. So that could help you out. So as far as deciding what exercises we do, the way I designed this program is I divided the body up into quadrants. And so if I'm looking at the body from the side, so profile, you have your upper front part of your body, which is one quadrant, where your pectorals, your biceps, your deltoids, your abdominals, all of those muscles are. And then you have your upper back quadrant, where your lats, some of your rotators, your levitators, your rhomboids, your serratus, all of those, your triceps, all of those muscles are. And then the bottom front quadrant, which is your quads, your soleus, your the different muscles on the front side of your shins, some of your hip flexors, your lower abdominals, and then the bottom rear quadrant, which is your glutes, your biceps femoris, your calves, your Achilles, your hams, things of that nature. And so I divided the body up into the 4 different quadrants, because all I'm looking at right now is with our exercise needs, of course we need to exercise. However, we're parents and business people, and we have life and we have obligations. So we wanted to hit this in a way that would be time sensitive, so that it wouldn't take a lot of time with hitting every single little muscle group, but still get the job done. So when we choose the exercises that we're doing, we're working each one of these 4 quadrants opposite kitty corner each other. So the ideal is that if I'm doing, let's say, a bench press, that is my upper front quadrant of the body, looking at it from the side, from a profile view, my upper front quadrant, if I'm working if I'm doing a bench press, so my partner exercise to that would to be doing a leg curl, where I'm working my glutes and my calves and biceps femoris. Your glutes is your butt muscles, by the way, if you don't know what those are. So it would be kitty corner, front upper
Wait,
to
you
back
just
lower.
explained glutes, and you've mentioned like 3 or 4 different muscles that I've never heard of.
So your biceps femoris.
No, I don't know. That's not, I know what my bicep is, but there were other ones that you described that I don't even know what those are.
Gastrocnemius.
What?
Your gastrocnemius. It's your calf muscles. Your biceps femoris.
Use English.
Your biceps femoris.
Not Latin. Use English.
Your biceps femoris is the muscle on the back of your leg. commonly referred to as like your ham, but your hamstring is actually the ligament that runs all the way down your leg. So,
Dude, speak English.
I know. Well, I mean, how else do you like? What? There's not really like a slang term. I mean, you could call it your hamstring.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would.
Okay. So
Thank you.
the upper front quadrant, so like your pectoral muscles,
Which are your chest muscles.
your biceps, which are your front of your arm, the Arnold
I think
muscles.
people know biceps.
Yeah, biceps.
That's common.
Yeah. And then your abdominals. People know what abdominals are.
Your stomach muscles.
So then I go kitty corner and work the backs of my legs. And, so I go from upper front to back lower and work the kitty corner quadrant. And then
you and I are doing this program so differently.
This is the way it was designed.
I'm not doing your program. I'm doing mine.
Oh, believe me, I know you're not doing my program.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I speak English.
Yeah. So, and then transversely do the upper back, which is like your lats, your trapezoids, some of your rotators, your rhomboids, your levitators, which are your lower back muscles, and then do the front of your legs, which is your quads, your soleus, your there's another one up there. I keep forgetting what it is. But
what's that one?
The soleus?
Yes.
Sole, like the sole of your foot.
There's foot muscles?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's tons.
Wait, how do you work your foot muscles?
Very carefully.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you can work your foot muscles. And that's why I'm saying is that we're trying to hit the large muscle groups, and we're not really ignoring the small muscle groups. We're not just getting specific with those. So
I don't think I've exercised my foot a day in my life.
But you have.
Not intentionally.
Well,
except for when I'm trying to keep from jumping out of the chair when they're giving you
running,
a pedicure.
Jumping.
Yeah, but not intentionally. I'm not like, today I've worked on my hand muscles.
You haven't had the
because
thought
I play piano.
You haven't had the thought of like, today I'm going to work on my feet.
I'm going to fix my feet.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to lift. I'm going to lift baby.
Well, that's good because you know what? One of our future
toes.
Guests is actually a podiatrist. So we'll talk about it. Yeah. Anyway.
Don't let him listen to stuff.
I know. So we are, you're rubbing on your microphone there.
I know.
I can hear it. So yeah, that's the way that the workout is designed. Is basically we have 6 exercises. We have a cardio core, your chest quadrant with the back of your legs quadrant, and then we have the upper back quadrant with the front of your legs quadrant. And that way you have 6 exercises. The whole workout takes about 90 minutes if you do it right. And that way you get a good, solid, all-around workout. And it's also time sensitive that you can do it and not have to worry about wasting a whole bunch of time. It takes about the same amount of time as a round of disc golf, actually. So that's the way the exercises program. It's high volume, lower weight, made for endurance, explosion, and strength training, and also to hit all the major all the major muscle groups that you're going to use in disc golfing. And because those little teeny stabilizer muscles are in there too, with these large macro movements, those will get worked out too and will get stronger. So it'll actually help correct some of these compensated muscle movements, and you'll be moving a whole lot better. Your range of motion will improve. Your throws will become so much more fluid, and you're going to gain distance and accuracy like crazy. I know for me, we went out and played Rain Shadow just recently. And, well, no, I won't even say that. I'll say for me, it was kind of the end of the season. We had already started to dabble in our postseason routine, And the last couple tournaments that I played in towards the end of the season, I'd already put 25 feet on my shot. So a 280-foot hole, I could throw that pretty effortlessly with a lot of accuracy, and it was almost easy. And Jenny, you increased your distance quite significantly as well. I mean, you threw a 350-foot shot, like pretty unintended?
I've thrown multiple 350 shots with foot shots without meaning to. When I started this season, I was still doing okay, I can throw 100 feet. I just need to get to that corner or get to that top of the hill or get there. And now I'm to the point where I can still do that. I mean, I can actually do that now and get that 100 feet. But then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, I have a tap-in birdie on a 350 foot hole. Like, how did that happen?
Well,
and it's happening more and more often.
It is happening more and more. But you went from being able to barely throw 150. You improved your technique and form. You got to about 225. But that's if you were really hucking it. And if you do that, you're sacrificing accuracy. And so since you've been doing resistance training in the gym on a fairly consistent basis, I mean, we go 2 to 3 times a week. You've increased your range quite a lot. And now those 200-foot shots, you don't have to work as hard to hit those. So your accuracy actually increases.
Well, not only that, but I started throwing very lightweight discs. And now I'm starting to throw still lightweight, but closer to
higher speeds.
Well, higher speeds, but closer to average weight discs. And I'm not having to throw they don't all have to be in the low 150s. Now I'm in the mid 160s and have some 170s in my bag.
Well, and your super light discs are starting to flip over on you. So you're actually unleashing a whole nother area of shot shaping options for you.
Part of that isn't because of the weight training, although that is a part of it, but a part of it was, when I worked with Holland and Ella, learning the correct way to throw, because you've been compensating, you flip your discs.
Yeah.
Because now you know how to throw right. So I had to stop throwing my favorite disc and I had to go to a different disc because I couldn't throw it anymore.
Well, the flippiness of a disc or the what is it? The turn of a disc and the glide has a lot to do with the amount of rotations that are on your disc. And it also has to do with how hard you throw your disc. And it's a combination of those two things. So as you're throwing with more rotations and you're throwing harder, your discs become more flippy. And so that has been a big change in your game. And you've been increasing your resistance and also your distance by miles lately, figuratively. To the point where now like your power throws are like keeping up with me.
Well, at least when the weather's warm.
At least with
now that we're going into the cold season, we're going into the frustrating part where it's like it's not going as far as it does when it's 90 degrees out.
Well, we're going to do a whole episode on flight numbers and flight patterns and behaviors. I mean, that's definitely coming up. It's a high priority episode that I'm going to be doing here in the near future. But yeah, if you're going to be competitive in any endeavor, or in any athletic endeavor, increasing your athleticism is a good idea. And eventually that's going to mean that you're going to have to move at it with some sort of intention and some sort of purpose to be able to increase that athleticism.
So I do think that you've shared that you have a program that we're going to share with our listeners some way, somehow. We'll explain that, I don't know, in the future, what that's going to look like.
Well,
However,
yeah.
I want to talk about what I'm doing because part of this program is being the intentional. And so what I found that works for me to actually be intentional is that I just created a Google spreadsheet that I keep on my phone. And I pull that up when I'm exercising, and I have my list of exercises so I can go back and see where was I at last time and which exercises have I not done in a while, to make sure that I'm covering all of the different muscle movements that I want to focus on and work on. And I've also noticed that some exercises I've stopped focusing on because they're not as important to improving my game or just kind of where I'm at right now with my life goals. So I'm not focusing on those exercises as much as some of the other ones.
Well, and it's also that you brought that up because of another point. One of the biggest reasons that people quit exercising is because there's no way to measure the benefit of it. And that's why there's a big emphasis on track your progress, because then you actually have something you can show, like, this is where I started, this is where I am. And then out there on the disc golf course, it's going to pay big dividends. I mean, I could throw 425 if I needed it on a good day, but I would get lucky if it was accurate. My goal was to throw an effortless 350 so that those 300-foot holes and those 280-foot holes, it were just basically a layup shot for me, and I could throw it with great accuracy. And that's the whole reason that I decided that I needed to start doing resistance training and working out, is to make that more attainable with less effort. And I promised earlier in the episode that I was going to touch on supplements very quickly. So
I love supplements.
well, you might not after this. Here's, as a personal trainer, there is a big emphasis on do not recommend supplements to your clients. Do not plug supplements. Do not engage in any kind of like thing where you sell a supplement brand as part of your practice. There was a huge emphasis on that. And the reason being is because you have to know that all the medicines, the foods, and the various different things that we put into our body, groceries and stuff, those all are evaluated by the FDA as far as their content and verifying their different nutrient levels and the different stuff that they have in them, even if it's stuff that's made in a lab. Especially if it's stuff that's made in a lab. They've all been evaluated through major rigorous laboratory testing and food scientists. The problem with supplements is that supplements specifically are not regulated by the FDA. So quite honestly, and this is actually what a lot of people do, I can go right down the street here to my local health food store, and I can pick up a giant bag of empty gel capsules that are, vegetable cellulose gel capsules, right? And I can just pour a whole bunch of, let's say, cinnamon in these gel capsules, right? I can pour a whole bunch of cinnamon on. I can write whatever I want in the bottle, put them in the bottle, package them up, make it all pretty, and go and sell them. And
Is that how they make glitter pills?
I don't know. I don't even want to get into that. That's just all too scary. But anyway, that's the ugly truth about supplements, is I can literally say whatever I want, and there's no regulatory agency to test my claim against. So I could put, a gel pill full of cinnamon, and I could say, oh, cinnamon is, does this and this and this, and it'll do great things and blah, 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 blah. And, I don't know. I might not know for sure what I'm selling, and I might not have all the information on maybe the adverse effects of what I'm selling. So the supplement industry is really the wild, wild west of health food, and there's nothing backing up the claims that these different companies are making. And that's another thing is why so many supplements get taken off the market is because, they produce whatever they want. They put it on the shelf. They don't have to prove any of their claims or whatever. And then they come to find out it's actually doing people more harm than good, to the point of where they actually have to ban it because it's harmful and causing cardiovascular issues. Or one that I can think of just offhand is back in the 90s, we had this stuff called androstenedione, which was a natural hormone that happened, that occurred in the body, but it increased your testosterone production. Well, people started having heart attacks because they were taking this androstenedione, and it was causing cardiac arrhythmias and different swollen hearts and enlarged hearts and different things of that. So that's just one example. Now, if you are going to be on supplements, talk to your doctor. I take supplements in the form of vitamins and some other different things that were suggested to me by a naturopathic doctor. This guy's licensed and PhD and all that good stuff. And if it's recommended to you by the doctor, and the doctor has actually evaluated and is willing to put his license or her license on the line to do this for you, well, that's between you and your doctor. I personally cannot advocate for supplements. All I will say about them is that they do have a place in the health industry, the health and fitness industry, and can be helpful. But again, that is for a medical practitioner to decide, and also whether or not that is right for you given your current medical circumstances and medications or whatever it might be. So supplements are an interesting topic. And I don't see those getting regulated anytime soon.
I still love my supplements. And if you were looking for something maybe to talk to a doctor about, I would recommend looking into a probiotic by chance. Talk to your doctor about your gut health, because your gut health and having healthy bacteria in your gut does more than just help you digest food. It's going to help you with your mood. It's going to help you with your brain. And it's maybe not the first thing you would think of as something that would make a huge difference in the way your body works. However, having a good, healthy gut bacteria is a really good place to start.
Yes, your gut biome is very important. So, so as we move towards closing, I think a good topic to close off this conversation is, so I have all this information. I'm ready. I've developed my training program. I've figured out the different movers and things that I need to, the different muscle groups and things that I need to use in my exercise program. I know how I'm going to work my different quadrants in a circuit, so to say. I've gone, and as far as prescribing exercises for this exercise program, I just went on Google and searched exercises that are good for resistance exercises that are good for disc golf, and picked out the ones that I liked and like doing and are comfortable with. I mean, you should enjoy your training program, and it helps to have a reason why you're doing it instead of just like, I'm working out for the sake of working out. Like, I'm working out to meet this goal of being a better disc golf player. That's why I'm doing it. And it helps me to stick with it and enjoy it a lot more. But now that we have all this information about how and what and when and why on all these different things, a really good place to end on is, how much should I exercise? And how much is too much? Well, that's a really good question. It's an important question to this conversation. So the American Council on Exercise, when I was going through my training, recommended that you exercise at an increased heart rate. You increase your heart rate up into that kind of 120 to 130 zone, give or take, for at least 90 minutes per week. And that is outside of your daily activities. So like say if your regular daily activities are to go to work and you're slinging concrete or bricks all day, and then you come home and play Nintendo or Xbox or whatever, and then you eat dinner, it would have to be some sort of activity that is in addition, over and above what you do on a regular basis. And so 90 minutes of activities above activities of daily living, or in addition to activities of daily living. And just as a general rule of thumb, you don't do it all in one day. Okay, break it up over the week. You can do it all in one day. However, that's not going to give you the long-term benefit of doing it a little bit at a time consistently over time. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. So about 90 minutes of exercise of an increased heart rate above beyond activities of daily living per week. Do more when you can. And also, something is better than nothing. So if you can't do 90 minutes to this week, do 20 minutes. I don't care. Just get up there and get active. If you disc golf on a regular basis, like every day, that would then become an activity of daily living. That's part of your routine. So you would have to do something in addition to that in order for it to count as, well, not to really count as exercise, but to increase your exercise regimen, I guess.
So if you're just going to disc golf, maybe you do a disc golf where you run between shots.
There you go. Yeah.
Pick a flat course.
You could run between shots, right? You miss a putt, you could do push-ups. No, that one's for you, Leilani. But also, how much is too much? And this is why I say don't do this in one day. I mean, we when we exercise, we go in for 90 minutes at a time, and it's a combination of resistance training and cardiovascular training. That's something that we had to work up to. We didn't start off doing that, but it's going to vary from person to person to person of how much is too much, and it really has to do with your recovery and your energy stores inside of your muscles and inside of your body. And the basic idea is that if you work out to the point where you're absolutely exhausted and whatever, and then you want to push it harder past your limits, that's when you start to get into injury and fatigue, and even experiencing cramps, tears, different things of that nature. And that's because you've blown out all of the energy stores that are in your muscles and in your whatever. And that's your available energy stores. Okay. I mean, if I'm a larger person, which I am, I have plenty of energy stores to go on and on and on. But once I deplete my readily available energy stores out of my bloodstream and out of my muscles, like, I have to be done. My body needs time to process those fatty acids and those proteins and create more of that adenosine triphosphate. So basically, when you're feeling fatigued, when you're at that tired point, that's when you should stop. Stop when you're tired. You don't want to be completely sore. You don't want to be put out of commission, because honestly, that's no fun. And if you're sore every day, well, you don't want to keep going back to the gym, because nobody likes to feel like crap. I thought this was supposed to make me feel better. And that's how recovery plays a role in this, is that your body needs time to replenish all of those different stores, the glycogens that are in your muscles, your reserve ATP stores, all the different things that you need. And it takes time to do all that. And at one point, it slows down when you reach like that saturation level. So when people say they're out of gas, they're literally out of gas.
Yeah, so active rest is really important. Icing your muscles when you need to, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off for an hour is a good way. I'm a big fan of Epsom salt baths. There's lots of different recipes you can find online, on Pinterest, things like that. With the Epsom salts, the baking soda, vinegar are some of the ones that are my usual go-tos for a restorative bath. And they also have some that's specifically for if you're bodybuilding, exercising a lot, that's going to restore some of the other things in your muscles that you wouldn't have.
Well, and you talk about active rest too. So active rest is a great way to recover. So say you work out for a day and then you do very, very light activities for the next day, just to keep things kind of pumping or whatever, but you don't really want to tax your system. Another thing that is part of training is actual rest. So what will happen is you train and you train and you train and you train and you train. Let's say you've been training for 2 or 3 months straight, right? Without missing a workout. Take a week off. Take a week off and literally do nothing. Let your body heal up and replenish itself for a week, right? And then jump right back into it. Don't take more than that. And if you take that week off, you're going to see massive, massive gains in your performance. We're just coming off, a week off, and you went up how many pounds today?
It's been 12 days.
12 days.
Since I last worked out.
Life
I feel
happens.
I'm confessional.
Life happens.
I did double my, overhead press, which I hate. And I went up 40 pounds on my leg press.
Yeah, so those are large gains. You took some time off, your body healed up after hitting it hard for a little while, and then you go back into the gym and you're seeing massive results.
Well, and that's the thing that you're doing when you're exercising is you're breaking down your muscles. So in order for them to, for you to make those gains, you have to give them an opportunity to heal because you're literally tearing them.
Yeah, you're making micro tears in your muscles. And when you're on a regular weightlifting program, every day, every other day or something like that, you're not giving those things the time to fully heal. So when you do give those things time to fully heal, you go back there stronger and better than you. I wouldn't take a massive amount of time off because after that kind of 12 to 14 day range, which we were getting kind of close to, you start to atrophy, and atrophy severely. I mean, honestly, you start to atrophy right away anytime you're not actively doing something. But you start to see severe atrophy getting into that the 2 week range. Your metabolism starts to slow down. A lot of people that have lost weight will gain weight like crazy because their metabolism just hits a brick wall. And you'll start to actually get weaker. Your muscles will start to shrink and you'll slowly get back to this resting state that you're trying to get out of, honestly. So, and just in general, getting in shape, being fit, it's great for your health. It's great for your longevity, your attitude, all sorts of different things. But just when you're taking care of yourself, everything just seems to work better, including your disc golf game.
Well, I just want to say there is this strange correlation out there that when you start taking care of you, and that starts with what you eat, your exercise, your mental and emotional health, your stress levels, it's amazing how many other things start to fall into place. Your job, your finances, all of these other things, your relationships with people, your disc golf game, all of these other things start to fall into place.
It's almost like magic. It's strange.
It is strange.
It is strange.
Intentionality is strange.
It is strange. And last but not least, we touched on it last episode, and I'll just briefly hit on it here before we get going, is your exercise program should be part of a comprehensive nutritional program, and those two things work hand in hand. What I will say about that is that your exercise program will ultimately not be as successful as it can be if your nutrition is not on point. Nutrition is the first and most important part of fitness. So, all right. Well, that does it for this episode of the Intentional Disc Golfer podcast. We believe here that disc golf does disc golf chains. We believe here at this podcast that disc golf does change lives. So don't be afraid to go out there and grow the sport.
This is Eric Oakley, and thank you so much for listening to the Intentional Disc Golfer podcast. Go out there and grow the sport.